All right, friends. So today on the podcast, I have Amber Alrifai. She is all things personal brand, marketing, collaboration, PR. And I have got to know her this week at an event. I'm so excited to just dig in deeper to some of these topics. So Amber, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited that we were able to meet here in Miami in this busy, crazy week. We've been to masterminds and events. It's been incredible.
So it's been crazy, hasn't it?
And yes. Now we're ending here. We should probably have a shot in that drink of water.
We need a shot in that drink of water. Caffeine, 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 please.
Yes.
So you've built a diverse career as a creative director, entrepreneur, co-founder of the AK Social House Media. What pivotal moments led you to where you are today?
If I go back to how AK Social House really evolved, it actually stemmed from being in network marketing. And I think I hear a lot of those success stories from really crazy influential people that it backdated to network marketing. But I had started back then and I realized really quickly that I had no influence, no audience, no network. I mean, there was no Instagram back then also, it was just Facebook. And when I got into that industry, I quickly realized this is why people make no more than $300 or $400, a couple $100 a month. How do they actually be successful? How do they get to that 6 and 7 figure and like really break that ceiling? And this is kind of an area where I wanted to dive into. And we created what's called a hybrid system, realizing that network marketers need to be selling themselves versus a product or an opportunity. You're the opportunity. Why should I join your team versus somebody else's team? You know, why should I be so excited to buy from you? And it comes down to that like, know, and trust factor. But most of these network marketers had nothing but, a couple hundred followings. They're stay-at-home moms. It's a side hustle. They do their corporate job and that sort of thing. So really understanding how can we get them out there? And the hybrid system is really essentially a space for them to share all of those things. Let's say amber.com, for example. So I would send them there to learn more about the products, the business opportunity, and then from there decide if they wanted to be part of my company. This quickly grew and scaled. And I ended up leaving network marketing because it was almost one or the other. And I just sort of felt this lack of passion in that space that yes, it's a product, I'm scaling it, I'm doing incredibly well, but it's not my product. It's not something that I built myself. AK Social House was founded by myself and my husband, and it was something that we got into in the network marketing side of things. And then just in the last few years realized, why are we limiting ourselves to network marketers? Everybody needs to be diving into their personal brand. So whether you're an influencer, an entrepreneur, a coach, wellness space, it really didn't matter. What can we do to help and serve them? So that was a pivot to really open doors. The biggest pivotal moment was we moved to Orange County a few years back and connected with some influencers and some really high-level entrepreneurs and got into the media space. And it started so small of just covering a podcast, helping somebody set up a podcast, and then covering a local event. And then quickly realized the creative side of things was something that we wanted to dive into. But kind of the rest is history because now we're more into collaborations, partnerships. What can I do if I see an opportunity between one incredible, impactful person and another? And I think that's really where it's shifted for us, that it's kind of went from mediocre of serving, this little pool of people to being able to ultimately serve the mass and serve some of the best in the industry.
And so you were in the OC, and when did you guys move to Miami?
I have a strategic partnership with a couple of incredible high-level clients that were also in OC, and I was serving them. They gave me the roundabout of, hey, we're dropping the ball, we're following God's lead, and we're moving to Miami. And I said, I guess we are too.
No way.
So, I mean, it gave us an opportunity to continue growing and scaling our business on the OC side. We have an incredible client base there that we still love and support, and we're able to do things there. And I was able to keep some of my team members over in OC to do that as well. So Miami just opened doors for another level of opportunity. I also feel like you get into a certain space and then you feel like maybe you've kind of maxed out there. Like I've done my thing. I've gotten in and met with the people and made the impact that I could make there. What can I do next? So Miami just felt like a right fit. I mean, it'd be a little easier if I was 25 and had no kids and supposed to do it, right? But we're jumping ship in the middle of the school year with a 5 and 8-year-old and we're getting it done.
Okay, so you're balancing multiple roles, right? Like you're the mom, you're the co-business owner, you're trying to figure out these different ventures. How are you maintaining your personal well-being while doing all the hustle?
It's such a great question because I even talk to a lot of my listeners about balance. Yeah. And some days I will create content and talk to them about you need to balance and go all in on yourself first, because if mommy's not healthy, if mommy's not feeling her best, looking her best, mommy's not showing up for her family, for her clients, for her business. So what can you do to level up? And I got into a space where I got really obsessed with Orange Theory. Before that, I had a private trainer come into my house, but it was at 4:30 in the morning. I swear to God, I was training in my sleep. I wasn't even breaking a sweat. I mean, I know there's these early bird people, but I don't think I'm really doing much here, right? So I switched it over, did Orange Theory, and I cut it down to a 6 a.m. So I could get up, I could get a work at it and get back at the kids right and get them off to school and then start my day. And then I moved some furniture while creating some content. I moved a big marble table. And my back kind of went on me. And I thought, shit, I'm really strong there. I'm going to, get over this. But they told me I got 2 herniated discs. I was like, is that from reaching 40? Like, I don't understand. I'm not going to put an age, because I met a lady 65 and she was like in killer shape. And I feel like I'm in my best shape in my 40s, but it put a damper on. I was like learning how to run and I was doing some things. So from that, I need to get back into that little shift. But I really believe when I'm not working out and not exercising or breaking a sweat, even if it's just running up and down your stairs. If you're a mom and you can't get out and get to a gym, you can run up and down your stairs. You can do laps in your backyard, whatever it is. It elevates your levels in your heart, in your mind, your energy. You feel like you have a clearer head. So I don't know how people actually go about their days without starting their morning off with like breaking a sweat, doing some meditation, giving thanks, doing your journaling. So I think those are things that are important to start your day off right.
Yeah, just those habits.
Yeah.
Right. But when you get injured and it changes your routine,
oh my gosh,
you're like, oh, wow, okay, this is a thing. And then also just recognizing that like it might not look like it did, but that doesn't mean you have to put a 0.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So maybe you can't do Orange Theory, maybe you can't do whatever, but you can run up and down your stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do these little things. And I always tell my boys, like, energy, you need to generate it to have it. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling exhausted, like what can you do right now that gives you energy that you create, so that now all of a sudden you can ride that creation?
100%. I think if you're not working out or doing something, you're going to operate at a much lower frequency and you'll just sort of be stagnant throughout the day. But if you can start your day off with break a sweat, drink some water, do your journaling, give thanks, going outside, taking a breath and looking up at the sky to say it's another day, I just think it's a huge part of what people take advantage of and they don't do. We make our kids do it. Go out and thank God for a new day.
Yeah.
It's a big part of living life and giving thanks for having such a blessed opportunity of where you are in your space. So
that God, I thank you for this day comment. I start every day and end every day just to bookend. Like, here's where I'm at. I'm thankful it's better than not having a day. As someone who almost didn't have any more days, I am like grateful for all of them and all the things that happen in between the morning and night.
Exactly.
So what are some key strategies you have found effective in helping people scale their brands?
A lot of clients that I talk to are almost embarrassed to show a website or show the assets of what they have that's representing themselves. So that's one. It doesn't matter if you're offering a product, service, if you're in the coaching space, making sure that you have a dedicated space that you're able to capture leads and that you're able to showcase who you are, what you have to offer, share your story with people. It's not just about selling. I think a lot of people have this taker energy. How can I get more, people to buy from me? But if you actually kind of flip that switch and just ask yourself, what can I do to give more value back? What can I do to help somebody? What else can I offer out there without looking for anything in return? You will create this whole abundance world around you, which is unstoppable, and the universe follows it. I'm a true believer of that. So this is one, is making sure that your brand is on point. So if you have a product or service that you're offering, make sure that you have that dialed in on the proper assets, whether it's landing pages, websites, it's, the follow-up is there. There's a lead magnet. Give somebody a freebie, a free offer so that you can capture leads and you can follow up with them. I always tell people, even if you have 500 followers, I've worked with clients that made millions of dollars and they have 400 or 500 followers. And why is that? Because they have their back end dialed in, right? They have a follow-up system. They're nurturing the community on the back end. And I've worked with clients that have 1 million followers and they're making no money because it's just on the outside there and there's really nothing dialed in on the back end. So that would be number one, is your assets on the back end. But number two, if we look at social media as a whole, think of that as your real estate, and every piece of content that goes on there is to serve you long term. So what can you do to put more value out there? I love creating long form pieces of content. That's why I'm such a huge fan of podcasting. But if you don't launch a podcast, sit down and create long form content instead of wondering what can I do to actually actually create a 60-second reel or a 90-second reel and chop it all up. I believe there's so many people that are hoarding so much great content and assets on their phone because they're scared to put it out there. It's not edited, it's raw. What will people think? Am I credited enough? Am I valued enough? Are people gonna wonder, why did she say that? Who is she to offer that? So I think sitting back and shooting a long form piece of content, you're saving yourself more time. You're just dedicating, 45 minutes to an hour, and now hand that off to somebody that can chop it up into sound bites, and you've got content, a week or 2 weeks worth of content from sitting down one time instead of overthinking one reel or one TikTok. So that's another play, but also giving yourself balance on your social media to showcase who it is that you are or who you are and what it is that you offer. So you can't just be, hey, I'm Amber and I sell products. You see that in network marketing, right? It's a flash sale. I usually tell people, pick one flash sale. They're coming every week. Pick one a month, and that's the one that you push on. Everything else should be value. So if you're a mom, share some mom content. If you're a business owner, share the business content, but share something else that can give value. So if you struggle with mental wellness, then talk about it, get vulnerable. If you had a struggle in your life, like you talk about your tragedy and your story, and it's incredible. And that's what really drew me into you. You share that on every piece of content or anyone that you speak to, because that's a piece of you and people know you for that, right? So I think when it comes to answer your question, back-end assets, and then of course your front end, which would be your social.
How do you approach authenticity and branding, and why is it crucial for success?
That's a really great question, because I think a lot of people get caught up in the social media aspect of things and putting on this face. This is who I am because this is what I want people to perceive me as. Versus if you actually take that shield off, peel it all away, and get real and raw and vulnerable and share your story, you're now becoming more relatable. So if I look at two beautiful people that have massive accounts, and one never shows anything besides just her true, gorgeous, drop-dead beauty, she's almost like untouchable to me, right? She's like unrelatable, untouchable. So I would look at her as almost like I could be a fan, but like, could I be a friend? Could I work with you? Maybe not. But maybe I see this other beautiful girl, the exact same, but her content's real and it's raw, and she strips it down, and maybe she cries sometimes, or maybe she shows an argument, or maybe she just lets it all down and say, like, I don't always have my shit together. Things are not working, and they're sharing the ups and downs. We all know that it's a valley and mountains when you're an entrepreneur. One day I'm at the highest of high and I'm winning, and the next day it's like, should I even get out of bed today? Like, what's the purpose? And a lot of entrepreneurs go through that, but do they share it? Do they share the highs and lows? So when it comes to being authentic, that's why dialing into your personal brand and having a space where you can share your story, I just think it's such a huge part of somebody wanting to build that like, know, and trust, and wanting to come and work with you, wanting to come and do business with you. So let's kind of dial it back to your top 3 pin posts. I just did a piece of content on what those should be.
Oh yeah,
right?
Tell us.
Your social media, you have 3 pin posts. So think of your social media as your real estate. What should those pin posts be? A lot of people will pin the post that has the most engagement. Oh, that piece of content went viral. I'm going to pin that one. But is that one actually serving your audience the most? So my recommendation is, number 1, it should be a quick little intro, 60 seconds, 90 seconds of who you are, right? That's just your bio in Modo. Hey, nice to meet you. This is who I am. This is what you can expect from me. Check it all out. That's number 1. Number 2 should be giving them testimonials and social proof of what it is that you do. So if you're a coach, this should be a reel of just jam-packed all the testimonials, like a mashup of people just giving you feedback. Kudos, thank you for all this. This is giving you instant authority. So before they even looked at your page, you've got authority. You're introducing you of who you are. And the next should be showcasing what it is that you do. So kind of walk them into the day in life. It could be a highlight reel of this is what I do, or this is who I serve. And now people get a chance to see you real, raw, hustling, and see if they relate to you and how they can do business with you.
Okay, so you should have 3 pin posts. 1 pin post should be like who you are.
Like bio.
Your bio. 1 is testimonials.
And
then 1 is how I serve.
How you serve.
Yeah. I don't have pin post right now, and I was going to do one about my upcoming climb, just because I'm starting to train for Denali and get ready for that. And it's hard for me because I don't know what to share, because I don't want to be noisy.
Oh, you got to be noisy. I just said this before we went live. I said, Jen, we connected a few years back, way back when I was just serving the network marketing space, and I had my podcast going on. And I said, so much has changed, but you've always stayed in my space because your content always shows up. And you're like, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. This is like the biggest compliment anybody can give you, because I think one of the hardest things that everybody struggles with, even the most influential people out there, is staying consistent and showing up. Even myself, myself, I'm so bad for that. I will show up and all of a sudden I'm not showing up. And I blame everything. I blame the background. I'll blame the lighting. I'll blame, we're in the middle of a move. Oh, I'm sick. I can't show up looking like this. But everybody's waiting for you. So if you're not showing up, then all of a sudden you're out of the limelight. They forget about you. They'll forget about you in 30 days. They might forget about you in 5 days. So if you're not showing up there, you're only hurting yourself. So be loud.
Be loud.
Be loud.
I swear social media is ever changing. How do you stay ahead of the trends to keep your strategies effective?
So this could be something that would drive everybody mad. And if you look at hashtags are working, hashtags are not working, the trending hashtags, Instagram now it allows you to do longer posts. Should I do longer posts? Do people like reels? Do they like live content? Do they like swipe overs, carousels? You can get caught up in all of it. I think the most important is to just show up. So give a diverse amount of different content. Show up with a post, go live. But I will say that the most authentic content, the value content is what's going to do the best. It used to be back, 5-6 years ago, you could put a picture of a product and people would like it. Nobody's going to like that anymore, right? And even to just put a post of just a picture alone is almost really tricky too, to expect to get like 1 million likes on that picture. But if that picture has a POV or has a really great message behind it, and now they're swiping to get more messages and more messages, now you're giving a story, then that's a great post. So if you can't sit behind a camera and shoot video all day or put that kind of content out, then give the value, but give it in a swipe over, a carousel, give them, more to listen to and hear versus just seeing this pretty picture.
Gary Vee had a good point when we were listening to him this week that I took to heart. And he said, instead of buying ads, use that money to buy somebody to own a channel of yours. Did you hear that part? He's like, listen, he goes, like, have a TikTok expert and just have that person like know TikTok and run your TikTok and do that versus using the money for ads.
Right.
And the guy who was interviewing him on stage was like, okay, we took that advice. We're like, we're going to dial back the spend on ads and we're going to hire this guy to do TikTok. They went viral a handful of times, way more valuable than what the ads would have returned. And I thought, okay. And then another tip that I took away that we're sharing, since we're social media day to day, was content days can feel forced.
Yeah.
So can you figure out how to have someone film with you or film with yourself where you're just getting little bits every day instead of the content day, which for me was like, oh, I'm going to try that. Because by content day hour 3, like I just am done. I don't want to smile. I don't like you. I don't know what we're talking about. And I don't even remember the purpose.
What were we doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, you could go content day. You could go a little bit each day. I find it really hard to produce content every single day because I don't always show up full face of makeup and hair as I would want to show up on social media. So when we talk about being real, raw, and authentic to me, it's also how I want to show up and be perceived by the public. So do I want to be perceived by the public in a mom bun with bags under my eyes and, in a baggy sweater? I actually don't. Now, I've worked with a client who made multiple millions of dollars building a network marketing empire. She actually got on stage and took her $1 million reward in her house coat. And she got the MDC engraved to be part of the $1 Million Club on her house coat. Kudos to you, because she shot all of her content in a mom bun. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's not how I want to show up and be perceived by. So if I could say, every Thursday, I'm just going to commit to like 90 minutes of content, just enough to create a little bit of content here. But now throughout the days, I could sprinkle in some real, raw, organic content of family, lifestyle, getting on Zoom calls, working with clients, B-roll of like the day in the life. And if I don't have a face on that I want to show to social media, then that's fine. I can look down and point my sneakers because I'm running. I'm on the treadmill. You don't need to see me looking like this, but here I am. I'm going to hustle. So you could do things like that, whatever works for you. Find something that works for you and just go with it. Otherwise, they don't show up.
Right. What you've learned is an obligation to share, to help others. We're not unique. We're the same with each other. And so we get to help each other through this thing called life.
Yeah.
Storytelling and the role it plays in social media.
I'm really big on sharing your story and sharing bits and pieces of your story and letting people know, because if I shared a piece of content and you shared the same piece of content, I may resonate with you over me, or however I said that, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look at two people sharing the same content, I might say, amazing. Like I just like that sunk into me, and I could hear the same thing come from somebody else, and I just swiped over. So storytelling to me is really diving into your craft. What do you have inside that you feel it can be valuable, that could help somebody, and sharing it. So sharing it in a way that allows people to relate, but also go back and share little bits and pieces of your life so that people understand who you are. It's one thing that you run a business or you offer services or you offer products or you help people, but what else is part of you that makes up to you? So in a little piece of, 30 seconds, it's really just telling your story throughout and sprinkling it along your social media. So I'm really big on going back and diving into like, where did you come from? What are some of the things that have happened to you? What are the highs and the lows? Everything can't always just be perfect. It can't just always be pretty perfect content.
And just going back and like looking at some of your stories from before, sometimes you have a different perspective, right? Now that it's been further away, you're like, oh, that was a big deal. Or I like skimmed over that and maybe I want to hit that again or whatever.
And go back to your own content and say, I want to dive into that again. So I'm always looking for new content, right? People that I love and that is in my space and what else I want to share. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. I always tell people that too. They're so hard on themselves of like, I don't know if I know enough about this product. Great. There's influencers out there that are crushing it on that product. Go find them and see what they're talking about in the products, and then go create your own piece of content with your own spin on it. Even if you said that exact reel in the exact words as that person, you put a teleprompter in front of you, you are still going to say it differently. It's still going to come out differently because you're not them. So you can do that and do what works for you, and you're not reinventing the wheel.
How do you leverage social media to make real, true connections?
If you'll notice on my social media, it has really taken a turn in the last probably 8 to 9 months. And a lot of the content on there is pictures with my clients, pictures with influencers, entrepreneurs, people that I've connected with. And I believe that social media, in order to connect with somebody, you cannot have taker energy. You need to figure out what is something that you have to offer that person. So if I sit back and look at the skills that I have and the industry experience that I have, I may not be able to compare myself to somebody that has been in the industry longer than me and that has much more to give and has maybe a much stronger influence than I do. But I can also sit back and say, but I have this ability to wonder if that person who has 1 million followers, let's take Daniel G, for example. Some people would look at him and say, he's untouchable. I'm a fan, right? If I ever see him, I just want a picture with him. I used to be that. I was there 2 years ago, right? I have a picture of him as a fan. I had the card on because I was in Vegas, right? Oh, Daniel G. Now I'm in this different mindset perspective of Daniel G. Yes, you're at this level up, way up here, but there's also opportunity that you're seeking, and there's ways and collaborations and partnerships that you are still looking for to elevate. There's always another level. So with the connections that I've been able to have, and now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm connected with Garrett J. White is a personal client of mine, and his wife, Danielle K. White. So I've worked with them now for over 2 years, and we have done so much. We launched The Real White House. It was a show that we've done. It's on YouTube, the first 5 episodes. It's incredible. And then it went down to a podcast for the family. And then the Date Your Wife podcast, it's blowing up. And that's a podcast that's like so dear to my heart. It's a baby for me. We've shot 78 episodes, and we had the idea of, let's bring in other powerhouse couples and connect with them there. And then all of a sudden this hamster wheel in my mind just started turning and saying, oh, I can connect you with this person and maybe there's some magic that could happen. Now, I just connected Dan Fleshman and Garrett J. White months ago. I invited Dan to come out and podcast, right?
Yes.
So if we look at that, we went to the jungle and shot a podcast. Would I ever think that Man in the Arena is going to happen, right? But those are the things. So if you look at how can you build connection, how can you create things, think of something that you can do or offer to somebody without looking for anything in return. I'm not looking for anything in return. I believe that the universe is watching. And if you're creating opportunities and you're bringing people together and you're creating an impact, something's going to come back to you. And people are going to want you in their life and you're going to start attracting. So I'm really big on energy. So when you want to connect, the first thing before connecting with anybody, it's going to come down to energy.
So really that whole connection piece is, okay, here's a person that I want to connect with. Here's something that I can add to their life. So I have that giver energy. And then that's kind of the beauty of having a podcast, right? Because it gives you a platform to share their story and get to know them better. Yes. And if we take Dan Fleshman and Garrett White, they did a podcast not too long ago. And just this week, they announced that they're doing this amazing thing for men. It's going to launch, I think, May 17th in Salt Lake City. It's called The Man in the Arena. And it's about stepping up to your calling and being the man in your life, right? And both of these guys have very different skills, very different talents. They connected, and what's going to be created, I can't wait to watch it unfold.
Energies.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, the energies are completely different. What is going to come from that? If I go back and say, could they have done it? They could have always done it. Dan knows Garrett. They've known each other for years. Everybody knows everybody in this circle of entrepreneur world. It's a tight circle once you get into that space. But did they ever have an opportunity to just sit down like you or I sit down chatting today? When you're in an event or you're networking, it's so hard to actually have 20, 30 minutes of a conversation to say, you know what, I could probably do something with you because you're just in this big space. So giving them an opportunity to say, hey, come over and have this podcast. I have 60 minutes now of your time. This energy is great. We're vibing. After the podcast, looks like you're not hitting the door so quick, are you? Because we got more stuff to talk about, and it allows for opportunity there. So this is the biggest win that I've seen from being able to have a podcast and put yourself out there. So if you're looking to create connections and collaborate and have partnerships, the easiest way and the most impactful way to do it is by launching a podcast. But I'll also go back to my other statement of don't launch a podcast for the sake of launching a podcast. Launch it to go all in, be consistent, and show up because everybody's watching.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you're setting it up, which like led into my next question perfectly is like, how do you foster that creativity and innovation? And a lot of it is like, you're going to go to these events, you're going to meet people, and then it's the back end piece that allows you to sit down and be like, okay, I have an idea of what you're doing and what you're trying to create. Now I'm going to sit with that and what am I trying to do and create? And who do we want to go in deeper with so that we can have conversations and see what we co-create?
Yesterday, for example, going into this mastermind, I have no idea who I'm going to see, who's going to bump into. And there was a seat of 3 women. They're all chatting. And I just kind of went over and introduced myself and said, this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is the people that I serve. And this is what I look to do. If you feel value in that, I had all their phone numbers within 10 minutes.
Right.
Because they seen value in that. But if it's having the guts and kind of the balls to go in and have those uncomfortable conversations, because it's not always easy. You might ask yourself, well, who am I to go and talk to her? She'd done $2.5 billion in sales, right?
Right.
But you make those connections. And again, it comes down to energy. If you ask somebody like, what is your biggest attribute or what's the best thing about you? And I wouldn't say it's education or that it's knowledge or it's all these big things that you need. I feel that it's the energy and it's the ability to connect because of the conversations that I can have. So I can go up to somebody who might be very influential and very untouchable, you could say to the words, but I don't put them on this pedestal of you're untouchable. I want to come at this level of like, we're right here in harmony. What can I do to serve you? What could we do together? How can you make an even bigger impact? Maybe I can help. Maybe there's somebody or something I can do or know to help. And that's what's really helped me to move forward and kind of where the Instagram has gone to, pictures with everybody and meeting with everybody and working with people and connecting with people. And then they see what you do on the back end, right? They have no idea what I do or I do branding or media, all that. But now they're connected and now they can see through my social media of who I help, how I serve, and how could I potentially work with you? Or maybe it's not you directly. Maybe it's, your back end or your email list, things like that.
I like that. And it's fun because at this event, I mean, we had 3 packed days of stuff and we've brought this energy tip up a few times. Like, even though it was these jam-packed days, Shamina and I were like, no, I want to show up like with good energy and be enthusiastic and have that like be who I am. And so we didn't come on time every day.
No.
We gave ourselves permission to be like, okay, how does my best self present? And it is not leaving at 7 a.m. and ending at 11 p.m. every single night and driving to all these locations. And so when you're doing these things, like that's that whole balance and self-care. Mm-hmm. What do you need to give yourself so that you can show up as the best version of you, so that you're showing up the way you want to be perceived?
Yeah. That's such a great question. And I kind of look at the opportunity and what's there and how much energy am I going to give that space, right? So if it's an event that's happening all week and I know I'm going to be, in this space with the same group of people, are these new people? Have I ever met them before? Is there more opportunity? I will probably show up the first day at 7 a.m. and stay till 11 p.m. to see, have I maxed out this opportunity? If I've maxed out the connections and conversations that I've had, maybe the next day I'm going to show up a little later and leave a little earlier, right? And it was like yesterday, I could have stayed all night. But I stayed until the part where it comes down to balance. I have kids to pick up. Yeah. So did I get what I needed? And I remember going over to Garrett and saying, listen, I noticed Cody Sperber's over here. I've been wanting to connect, for quite a while now. And if you're going to, fly to Arizona and be on his podcast, I'm going to go make that connection right now and hit him up and grab his phone number before I make my way out the door. He's like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. I came back to him 10 minutes later. I said, all right, we got that locked in. I'm going to take off now. We'll see you another day. So it does come down to the word hustle. Yeah. A lot of people don't want to use that word. They want to use, balance, and you're balancing yourself. I'm just going to be real and raw. It takes a lot of hustle. If you're going to an event, maximize that event and come out exhausted. Get your sleep. Don't go to the after parties.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so if they're going to the after parties and you're up till 2 a.m, well, now you're showing up not your best self, right?
Right.
You're not going to look so pretty. You're going to have the bags on your eyes. So I would say cut the after parties and show up during the time when you know that you're going to make the most opportunity to connect. A lot of these events, it's hard to connect because you're sitting down listening to these panels and you have to be silent and you can't speak. How many times did Dan's assistant, she's like, shh, because I need to make these connections, but they're speaking. And then, so the only time you get to talk to somebody is during the lunch break or that breakout session. So you kind of be really mindful of those too, to say, hey, I can't make it through this whole thing. What are the key times that I need to be here? And kind of work your time in that way and balance it that way.
Yeah. And one tip I got for everybody listening today is if you can get there that first day early, then you're meeting one person at a time, which allows you to put their name with their face and kind of like a memory to program them into your head.
Yes.
Versus like if you show up a little bit later, now all of a sudden you have to meet 10 people. It's hard to keep that straight in your brain of names, faces, and what they do or what they're interested in.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I had my video guy there just shooting content around the whole place. And at the beginning, when we first got there was nobody there. I said, I think we're going to stay at the front. We're going to stay at the front because everybody's arriving one at a time. And it allowed me to get great content, right? Like Stormy was pulling up in her Rolls Royce. I'm like, great content. So it worked out well. So yeah, you got to just do you. I remember going to an event and Daniel G was on stage and then he got off. And the event's still going because the next speaker was being announced. But in my mind, I knew I wanted to have a conversation with him. And at an event like that, it's impossible. He's going to be hounded with people. And I looked at my husband and I said, let's go to the bathroom right now. He's like, why? I think Jamie Lynn was coming up or something. And I said, we got to go to the bathroom right now. For sure, Daniel has left because everybody's still in the room. He's now out in the lobby on his own to take a breather. That's when I'm going to catch him. And sure enough, I come around the corner, right? And I had like my, moment to introduce myself without having 100 million people around and he's not really comprehending what you're saying. So be intentional.
Okay. So the legacy that you hope to leave behind with your business and yourself, tell us a little bit about that.
I love that question. I think that's my favorite question out of all of it. So as I'm building this business and growing, scaling, my husband's a big part of this. And we always said, we want to do something for our family that's never been done before. I don't come from a wealthy family. I don't really come from an educated family, like not even high school. My dad lost his dad when he was 6. He was homeless for many parts of his time. He slept under bridges. He'd tell me now, even now, I couldn't climb to sleep under that bridge. I'm like, Dad, come on, like we're over that, So we would say those things. I look now, my husband's Middle Eastern, and he always said, I want to be that first person in my generation to bring the wealth to our family. That's what I'm doing. I'm building wealth and I'm going to build it here and build it in America. And we have 2 kids and I always have my children involved in everything that I do, the highs and the lows. If they see that we're arguing, you need to know that I'm arguing about our business and what we're doing. We're not arguing because Mommy and Bubba are arguing. We're arguing over something here and we're going to build it up. So when I look at leaving a legacy for my kids, I always tell my kids, the more money we make, the more people that we can serve and more people that we can help. So if I kind of go way back, there is more of that I want to be able to do. My husband's originally Syrian. He's born and raised in Dubai, but he comes from a Syrian background. That means a lot of his family is still in Syria. So when the war hit, we know that there's a lot of impact there. I have people, because they know the last name, they will Facebook message to say I'm a cousin or I'm somebody, like help me, save me, do something. So there's a lot. So we want to build an orphanage for women and children in Syria so that we can take parts of every bit of business that we do and it goes back. I just believe that the more you can help, the more you can serve, the bigger impact that you can make. So if there's people out there that are making millions and billions of dollars and they're keeping it for themselves, what's the purpose of that? How much money do you need to live the most impactful life? But if you can take that money and you can help another family, you can help, kids in education, you can help people that are going through war, make the impact, like everything that happened with LA, you're with the fires and everything, but you're surrounded by celebrities. Those celebrities should be getting together and rebuild and make it even bigger and better than what it is. Use the money to create an impact and to help and serve. So I have big plans for that. And I have big plans this year to help my son launch his own business in content creation. And he wants to be a content creator and he loves to fish though. So my husband's like, if you want to fish, here's the drone, because he operates a drone and he's 8. He's like, here's the drone, here's your stick, get it on the gimbal and create content. And now create a vlog and you teach other kids how to fish, how to put the hook on, how to do things. Like, get your kids out there, get them involved. So I'm leaving a big legacy for my children, and it's the business and then it's also real estate.
Wow, we've had a good episode. Yes. So everybody, Amber, AK Social House Media is your girl.
Thank
How
you.
can they reach you and all the details?
My personal Instagram is Amber Alrifai. So it's Amber ALRIF, like Frank AI. I wish I had an easier name, but I don't. So it's Amber Alrifai. From there, it is tagged as AK Social House. AK Social House _media is our media company. And you can see on there, we've worked with some of the top influencers in the industry, some of the biggest movers and shakers, anything from podcast production, content creation, branding, all those things. So if there's something along those lines, we can always hop on a call and see where it takes us.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
This was such a pleasure, such an honor. Thank you, Jen.